Oh boy. Okay. All right. Let's do these. So first things first. I have to start this video off with a very, very big, important info bomber here. Ready? Okay. Here we go. When it comes down to it, Wildermyth. When I simplify it down to its most basic description, uh, to put it mildly, it is the turn-based game that should have already been a mass majority of turn-based games. Well, what do I mean by this? You might be thinking. Well, what I mean by it is simple. Mass numbers of too effing damn many of turn-based games, all right, have, let's just say, a terrible penchant for thinking con total depth of content isn't important. That gameplay is, say, secondary to, for example, Final Fantasy problem, which is that lore conquers all. No, sorry, let's cut the crap. Let's be real here. The thing that makes Wildermyth such an amazing game, when summarized perfectly, is that it is the turn-based game. It is basically turn-based games where they should have been long ago in the now. Do you see that's kind of the big problem here? That's also this game's biggest upside. Is it is what all others should have already been, but never really did. When it when other turn-based games were focusing on going bigger graphics, bigger special effects, this game's more of no, let's make a good game that has plenty of content and let's not be dicks about it. That is Wildermyth summarized perfectly. How you make a game, especially a turn-based game, damn good. That's the thing, is that when you summarize it perfectly, Wildermyth, much like Divinity Original Sin 2, is kind of the big giant ass bar that if you can't even so much as be bothered to even come close to meeting this, don't even make a game. Just don't bother. Don't waste anyone's time. Don't waste no money. Don't waste no thought processes. Don't bother wasting nothing. Just call it a day and go home. That's the thing, is that when it comes down to it, Divinity Original Sin 2 and this game are two sides of basically the same coin. Both are games that embody what turn-based games need, have to, should, can, and have always had potentials of being. That's the kicker. Now, while one has higher production value, the other has lower, but makes up for it by having just as much content, if not arguably at times even a bit more. No, really. As hard as that is to believe, yeah, that's real. Wildermyth has as much content, if not borderline more content than Divinity Original Sin 2, okay? And I never sadly got around to finishing Divinity because of a stupid mission that just kind of effed my whole playstyle over and screwed me, which sucked. When it comes down to it, though, what I appreciate so much here is that the actual meat here, the actual core here, is just like Divinity, damn solid and damn good. Like, honestly, if you're looking for what turn based games can be and you're wanting to see what the best they have to offer is, you're either getting Divinity or you're getting Wildermyth. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Those are the two best turn based games, period. Hell, as much as I, okay, love my Trails of Cold Steel, alright, I love the shit out of them, I will state that technically speaking, when it comes to just pound for pound content, Wildermyth manages to basically kind of make Trails of Cold Steel look small. Even Completionist, it manages to make it look relatively small, which is crazy because that game, when you play Completionist, that's easy 120 to if not 140 hours, just like Wildermyth here. But the difference is that each single campaign is your typical campaign length, relatively good enough. Granted, one of them is a little shorter, but that's intentional to help you learn the ropes. So not as much of an issue that it's a little shorter than campaign 2, 3, 4, 5. The reason why is because it's designed to just get your feet wet. It's supposed to help you learn the game. It's not meant to be difficult or challenging. It's meant to be your warm up. It's meant to be kind of like your pregame or like a tutorial, even. On top of having an actual tutorial system. No, really, they have both. Now, here's another kicker that I have to add in. This is a big plus sign, especially to modders, people who love making mods for games. Wildermyth is already a game where you can mod it, but the devs weren't happy with that. They basically kind of just said in a boardroom, fuck it. Let's make it even easier to mod this game, and let's apply a damn button to make it effortless for people to mod this game. No, really, there is so much mod support here. It's damn near baffling. Not to mention the free content they've added on top of that. Oh, mwah. Not to mention this game has 6-player co-op, drop in, drop out style, or hosted. Now that's pretty cool, alright, already. Now you have to add in the fact that you don't have to make everybody buy the game to be able to play the game together. That's the cool thing. As long as you guys are friends on Steam, guess what? They could be on their damn phone at their job and play the game with you. Yo, that's pretty cool. I don't care who you is. That is cool. All right, when I can play, hell, that's how I even got introduced to this freaking game. Smab said, "Hey, you want to see something cool?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah! What you got?" And she said, granted it was he at the time, but the details, irrelevant details. Okay, when it comes down to it, Smab was like, "Get on your phone, log into your Steam. We gonna play some co-op." And I'm like, "What? You high?" I was like starting to think like, does someone need to check to make sure Smab not dying from like drugs or some shit? I thought Smab was losing her damn mind. Nope, she wasn't losing her mind. Somehow. Yeah. So basically, Smab hopped onto her PC, friggin' sent me like a friend play with you invite thing. I can't remember the actual terminology anymore off the top of my head, especially with no sleep. So F it. When it comes down to it, though, it was just crazy because like I'm at work. I was at my job at the time, which was dog sitting at the time, and I was sitting there on my phone. That's all I had. I didn't have no PC with me. I had my phone. And I was able to play with the homie on the phone. It was awesome. Especially getting the cool part about being able to kind of like pick and choose, like, hey, do you want to play as a human who, say, goes and beats people with a giant, massive hammer? Or do you want to use any one of the other weapons, which there's plenty of them? There's swords, staves, there's wands, there's crossbows, there's bows, there's giant swords, freaking axes, there's giant axes, hammers, maces. That's pretty cool. And then you have abilities that you can build off of based off of what class you chose, which is pretty cool too. Granted, I'll always have a penchant for becoming a werewolf, and then just going ham, which once I found this out, it pretty much broke the game's balance, but it was so fun I didn't even care. I became God, which was dope and kind of trippy and awesome. I was God Wolf, and any boss that was in my face, I damn near wrecked them in one shot. No, really. It was that fun. It was awesome being able to choose to become a werewolf. And that wasn't even the only one. There's Crow, there's Lightning, Fire Creature, dude, there's the freaking become a treant, become a living stone. And another one, which once I found it, I never lost another character for the rest of the time I played. Ever again. Which was pretty broken. Um, and that is Celestial. Now there's also a Werecrow, which was cool. I mean, I preferred its wings because it allowed me to fly across the field a lot faster. There's also, and this is pretty cool, there is a total of 5 campaigns. One of them is on the short side, like I said, kind of more just to act as a tutorial. The rest are 5 chapter long stories with specific objectives. Now, within those campaigns, each time some random stuff can pop off. So, one moment you could become a were crow in one campaign, but then have option become a werewolf in the next. And if you want, you can mix and match these pretty easily. You can get the wings of a freaking crow, the freaking legs of a werewolf, the arms of a freaking of different things, get the freaking face of different things. It was kind of cool, and it added some cool looks. Granted, it eventually did become kind of comedic because uh, one character had pretty much four different type of of hybrid body parts, and then there was added on top of that a fox's tail, which was funny because it just looked so weird, but it was pretty stout. Like it was good. And that's kind of the cool thing is you're completely allowed to do this. There's no real aside from like passive abilities like altering your stats. There really wasn't any like punishment from the game for doing this really, other than you might not have some of the abilities that someone who gone through just a specific path, but you look completely hilarious and or have tons of stuff popping off at the same time from different things, which was pretty cool. You can gain pieces of like gear and stuff like that to apply to your character, stuff like belts and and brooches and gloves and pads and then the shiz and stuff and your character can become kind of a bit of a can have a ton of stuff basically piled onto him, which was pretty cool. Um, man, my throat's really effed up still. Damn. When it comes down to it, this is all stuff that you can do, and it's all randomized. So unless you go out of your way to force the game to be boring and repetitive, it's not likely to get boring or repetitive because, like I said, tons of the stuff that you do wind up procking off is completely randomized. What characters can even get affected by these things is also kind of randomized. That's not all that's in here for when it comes to content either. There's tons of stuff. There's being able to either pick to have romances, rivalries, or even friendships pop off at random, or to maybe try and control that yourself by making specific choices during certain bits. Now, these bits, of course, are randomized, which can kind of suck a little bit, but oh well. Tons of stuff like these little event backstory based side missions. Now, I do have a complaint about those, but I'll get to that later, like at the end. Nearing the end of it is when I'll finally get to that stuff. Alright? When it comes down to it, there's a character creator, even, and again, there's another thing I can complain about there, but at the same time, it is serviceable, especially for a first game. Now, the next thing that's a really cool thing as well is the fact that there's really no limitations put on you on how many romances you can have or how far along or necessarily like the rivalries, how many of these can you have or anything like that. You can have as many or as few as you want and you can set it up pretty effortlessly. And on top of that, you can also advance these relationships, intensifying them themselves. For example, one thing you could do for if you have a romance is you can take it all the way from crush to dan 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 dan. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Now kiss like there's no manana. We gotta go kill some gorgons in like 5 minutes. Which I kind of dug that honestly. I kind of dug that I could build these relationships as I played. It kind of added a nice little touch. Do I wish there was a bit more than just some stat boosts and some slight changes to the way they talk to each other? Yeah, I kind of do. I especially kind of do wish that when I lock something off as a soulmate, I kind of wish that it wouldn't start at crush because that just seems kind of weird. If you're soulmates and you're emphasizing it as they've been together for a while already, having them start off at crush makes no damn sense to me, honestly. But then again, does that actually take away any points from the actual game experience? Hell no. Hell the F no, are you stupid? What it does do though is it creates a kind of like I kind of wish this was alter kind of. It basically causes at best a nitpick, and even then, not even a strong nitpick. So yeah, um, it's hard to find complaints with this game. Honestly, it really is. I have to dig, I have to scrape, I have to claw, and I have to try and bury the bottom of the damn barrel just to find something to complain about. Honestly. In fact, honestly, I've had more fun in this game than I had in some of the most current games. Like, I had more fun playing this than I did Digimon Survive, more than Cyberpunk 2077, more than freaking Battlefield 2042, more than the freaking recent COD beta. I had more fun playing this game than too many other games. Like, honestly. Now, to be fair, is it because it's up my alley? Yeah, turn-based games are completely up my alley. That's like returning back to little kid me, basically. For me, it's like just reverting back to the old me before I became what I am now, and before I was the disgusting sack of excuse that is teenage to late teens me. It was back when I was simple, very very simple. Now, on top of that, is cool thing here is that not only is there all this depth already, there is some slight, not as much as I'd like, but some slight controllability in which one of these personality trait flavored missions you can do. Now, there is kind of a catch. Just a little bit. These kind of personality flavored based side quests aren't actually based on your personality. They're more based off of your backstory traits. Stuff like being distant, wanderlust, freaking loyal, and all this other stuff. That's basically what they are. Is they're basically defined by that part. Um, and to be honest, I have mixed feelings about this. Um, some are just kind of, in my opinion, better than others. Mostly because for some of them, the way they end is so damn stupid. So stupid. I think it's for Dark Heart. I think it was. There's one of them that has you go and you perform a blood ritual to summon up some powerful entity. Yeah. It doesn't help that at first it starts off like I'm supposed to get a choice, but then I don't get no choice. It just kind of wah, 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 roll credits. I'm like, wait, we're back at the map. What? That was it? That's fucking stupid. That's it. Now, is there any way to fix this, like in a patch or an update? Not really. No. Is that necessarily something that's like point doc worthy per se? No, not really either. That because you can prevent it by just saying F going for different ones and just pick the same one throughout the whole list. So you can kind of prevent the stupid quest from procking. So, eh. Um, there are cool relic weapons that you can find as you play. Those are also randomized, but you can kind of find them as you play, and these things will have either really awesome like passive stat buffs that you couldn't get otherwise, or they'll just be really stout and really strong and can kind of break things depending on when used or what chapter you're in. Which honestly, I kind of dug that. I thought that was pretty cool. There are pets, although I have mixed feelings with those. Sometimes they're like there's this little tiny little, I call it the money rubber. I don't know what the hell it actually is, and I'm not sure I care either. It's a tiny little thing that decides I'm gonna steal that person's coin right now. What? What? Why? Cause shiny. And that I think is really cool, especially since it increases melee accuracy and something else. I think it was dodge, but I won't swear on core law. There's a baby Hago, although depressingly you don't get to keep the Hago. It's a for one chap. It's for one chapter out of that campaign. So here's this cute little Hago, which is basically like a bear meets saber tooth tiger meets furball or Furby even, but 5 times more adorable than that sounds. And it's adorable. You only get to keep it for that one chapter, though. The moment that chapter you're going to chapter 2 of that specific campaign, it's gone. which sucks. That part bummed me the hell out because I was like, oh, but it's adorable. And I want to see it when it's fully grown. There are other things you can do, like, for example, turning into a skeleton. That's something you can do. Um, there is turning into another enemy type, which is a deepest, which is pretty cool because you. I wish it was a bit more than just this, but you become bald and you get like some tattoos and shiz, which is pretty cool. If you remember correctly, your retirement age also increases for it, which is pretty dope. Since now, when it comes down to it, retire trying to make it so your characters can become, make it so they can last longer throughout the story is ideal. But there is a way around this problem. And that is through allowing your characters to be able to basically have kids. Now, there is a problem with this, which I'll get to after I make this clear, but once I get nearing the end of this specific point. But they allow you to have kids, and this part is really cool at first. There is a hiccup with it. Like I said, I'm about to get into that, but allowing your kid to kind of be brought into the world, and then basically, I'm sorry if this is mean, but it's also too damn accurate for me to not put it like this. But basically, through this, they managed to actually do better at having child characters better than freaking Fire Emblem. I'm sorry, Fire Emblem, I said it. The thing is, the reason why it's better is because there's no BS, freaking reason for why your characters all of a sudden this kid's all of a sudden able to go adventuring. There's no actual BS reason, which I appreciate. The way it's actually set up is that this character is your kid. They are only just now, though, reaching adventuring age. And they decide, time to follow in that family business. And honestly, this actually works far better than time travel bullshit or in an alternate dimension bullshit. If I'm given a choice between time travel that's not very well set up in a fantasy world or alternate dimensional travel that's poorly explained in a fantasy world, once again, like, honestly, there's only so much you can use magic as an excuse for, and you use it a little much, Fire Emblem, you do. And honestly, you didn't even have the balls or the brains to actually decide to, instead of erasing things, to instead improve them, which was moronic, honestly. And yes, I am referring to a Fire Emblem game that, to me, honestly, is just about the same, on par with the other two I also have mentioned already in bringing this up. Honestly, right? Three Houses is what I'm referring to as the one that decided, and no more kids. In fact, they also had the idiocy to make it so romances were only really, like, S rank, fully fleshed out romances were only achievable by the MC, which was dumb as shit and made no fucking sense and had no benefit. It just was there. A change that was kind of just stupid. But I digress. Ironically enough, Wildermyth does both children characters and kind of romances better and both worse to some extent than Fire Emblem does. Here's the thing. Fire Emblem, when it comes down to the children aspect, it's a massive failure, honestly. It is when it comes to that aspect. Now, when it comes down to, progressing these relationships, it did great in Awakening. It did pretty good in Fates. As much as I like it for the main character, they kind of also took a step back. Here, though, they didn't step back. They said, hold my beer, and decided to basically make Fire Emblem its little hoe. I said it. I said it. The worst part is I actually mean it a good bit, actually. Ouch. I like Fire Emblem. And I don't like saying that. But here we are. When it comes down to just, not the romances themselves, those are equal footing here. Because they're done just differently enough that it's not really much of a competition. So, that's not where the big blowing out of the water comes from. The real thing that blows them out of the water is that Wildermyth does these bringing in of child characters far better, far infinitely better, with far less dumb, stupid plot bullshit that makes no damn sense. All right, it works better in Wildermyth because time has progressed here. Honestly, all right, that's the thing is that in this game, the reason why our characters are all of a sudden now adventuring age is because time has passed. 11 years of time has passed. More often than not, that's the amount of time that passes at the end of every single chapter is 11 years. Well, when you have 5 chapters, that's 55 years that have passed by then. So guess what? Your characters are more than likely, yeah, though their kids are probably adventuring age by now. If not have been adventuring age for a while now. That's the kicker here is that when it comes down to it, these children are far better implemented. And what's cool is they don't start off broken, the opposite. They start off as noob greenhorns who don't have tons of adventuring experience, which then causes you to now have to put time into them to upgrade them to get them ready to become the new freaking powerful adventurers. And I love that. I love the fact that I get to start off with them being weak and then build them up to be able to match their parent or maybe even surpass their parent. I love that part. And honestly, while I do kind of wish there was a bit better in certain aspects, like I set it up so that this way it was me and my girl, we in a romance. I set it up so that this way we could have a kid in the game, and the game version of her, wound up cheating on my character. The fuck? Max relationship, and she cheating. The hell? So that's where we get into our first big problem. And this is the actual one that is almost, if it wasn't for other things compiling onto this, I wouldn't have probably docked a point, but because there are other things that are also a bug bite that are annoying crap, all right, I do have to dock a point eventually, but I'll get to that. When it comes down to it, though, when it comes down to it, when I have a max relationship going, all right, and you don't tell me this bit, this is going to piss me off a little bit, okay? What the game does not tell you is that when you click allow children, it means allow random children, basically. No, don't get me wrong. You can, if you lucky, make it so that this way it winds up being you and your significant other having a kid. But there's also a massive chance that instead this kid is going to be hers because, or his, because they went and knocked boots, did friggin' the new shuffle, the nasty with some other dude. And what's more is, it won't always be yo party who they wind up hooking up with. At times, it's just some random non-existent NPC. You're just not the father because, and called it, and that's it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's such a stupid thing because, like I said, it doesn't actually tell you this. The only way you will notice this is if you are paying attention and looking at shiz constantly. If you are analyzing what's going on your characters and what way they're set up, what they're doing, if you're paying attention to these things, you will notice you ain't the mama or you ain't the daddy, okay? You the nobody in their life. You the person who could have been they parent, but they ain't. That's it. I kind of wish it would have separated this allow children thing to a allow random children or allow specific locked children. What I mean is, it would be nice if, since I've already locked this relationship into a constant soulmate thing where we're constantly winding up together, no matter what and when and where, I wish that it would lock that in with that knowledge that, okay, you've already locked this in. We're not going to have them hook up with no randos. They're not going to be some invisible dude who freaking knocked them up. No. It'll just be you two. Don't worry. Don't worry. We got you. No. Instead, somehow, through the magical mystic power of rando, they managed to they managed to do the nasty, do the deed, even though you're in a relationship that's committed and you're married. Ouch. And honestly, if you're someone who's like going through some shit where it's like this happened to you, oh dear God, just don't even bother with relationships in this game then, because it's so heavily randomized on this kind of stuff. And it doesn't tell you this stuff until it happens at times. Now, yeah, you can click allow random romance and allow random rivalries to kind of, if you click on them, you can activate them or deactivate them. But if you click allow children, that thing's just always random, no matter what you do. And that part I don't like. Um, Now, this isn't necessarily a problem unless you're not like me. What I'm hinting at here is that this game, when it comes to graphics, it's not amazing graphics. It's not incredible graphics. It's pretty meh graphics. But that's the kicker here. Is we have to put a giant asterisk here, because if you're someone like me who values gameplay and the game over graphics, all right, to you this isn't an issue. If you're like me, you're of the mindset of the game and gameplay needs and should come first. Making a fun, good game should become the most and last priority over pretty. Honestly, that's the reason why my library, I don't know if y'all can, hold on, I'll get it eventually. If any of y'all can ever read these things, I'd be pressed if you can, to be honest with you, from this angle. But to put it bluntly with you, a large number of those games are not pretty games or the most up to date games. All right, there are some current games, sure, but not a lot, not at all. Hell, even if I did crank on my system, the facts are is you don't see tons of high, massive games. You're gonna find some here and there, but that's not the majority of these games. A mass majority of these games, you'll notice, is all about fun and gameplay for me over looks. Hell, just to prove my point, I still have. I still almost wound up playing Digimon World 3 again. Don't ask how many times I've played that game. I will answer how many times I've finished it, which is a fat zero. Once because of a corrupted save file. The other because the system, when someone was a certain someone, a family member, I'm not gonna say names or who, just a family member, kind of ripped around a corner and caught the controller and really messed up the system good. Yeah. But anyways, when it comes down to it, the overall is I don't really care about graphics. To me, graphics are kind of like they're cool, neat. I care more about the game. I care about what's the inside. I care about the inside every single time, far more than does it look what the average person's idea of beautiful is. No, I don't give a shit about that. I care about the insides. I care about the innards. Okay, when it comes down to it, if you look good, great, but try and be good on the in. You don't have to be great. You don't have to be a saint. But honestly, to me, games are a similar way. You can look good, but also actually play good, be worth a crap. And honestly, if I'm going to be real with you, honestly, Wildermyth, when it comes down to its price tag, is a damn near five-finger damn discount. I damn near stole that shit, okay? That's how much content is in this game. To a point where $50, okay, that was with tax, $50, felt like freaking damn steal. I felt like I just made out like a damn bandit. Okay, that's how good content we got here. That's the good weight of content here. Now, I'm going to also state this. When it comes down to it, can its music get repetitive? Yeah. When you get the music, it can get a little repetitive. There is a way to fix that. That you just got to turn that musical volume down, and you can do that without it messing up with other things, which is nice. Um, I think we're ready just because I don't want to blab on forever. I could. All too easily, I could. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna instead slip into our last negative and then go to the actual the the finale of this little show here. Okay. So another negative is its backstory bit. Now this backstory thing isn't bad in its concept. It's its execution that's a rough mess. Not that it's bad or unfixable. It's just rough. There's plenty of ways to fix it. I'm even willing to bet you there's probably some patch that I don't know if that could fix this, possibly. Made by the players, for all I know. But when it comes down to it, this whole backstory thing, while it's cool in concept, it doesn't execute very well. It's kind of meaning it compared to like the backstory traits. It's kind of meaningless because it doesn't actually get referenced or matter. It's not really relevant. The backstory traits matter because those will augment what kind of certain like personality based missions you'll get. But that's it. I don't like that. I I don't like how these backstory things kind of just they dumb down to a shrug and that's kind of it. Honestly, I almost wish either that part was replaced with a far better system, or maybe instead of having this, backstory bit, instead we actually got it to instead create our own backstories by, say, playing the game or by playing certain like one-time missions. I almost would have rather that instead of what we actually got here. Not because what we got here is bad in concept, just the execution is that poor for it. And it's not because like there's no way to fix it. It's just that by the time you fix it, there's is it really worth it by then? Now, I've played this game for 139 point something hours total. To put it very mildly, I see this thing eventually racking up the same hours I've put into like that of Skyrim or Oblivion, which is like 5,000 or more. I think no, probably closer to 6,000 by now. Now that I think about it, but I digress. I've put in a ton of hours in those games, so the fact that this is a turn-based game that manages to be a damn good turn-based game to a point where it will rival in amount of time of my life consumed as that of, say, that of Elden Ring, Skyrim, Oblivion. These games that I have sunk in more hours than I am really comfortable or willing to admit on camera or to myself, even. For good reasons. Yeah. At the same time, I feel like that's also the biggest plus thing side, the biggest positive to state is I've put in 139 hours. I'm not bored of anything I've experienced because I didn't go out of my way to make it boring, for one. Two, the randomizedness of so many of the different features, functions, and things you can experience in the game means that by the time I am bored of it, I'm probably going to have more than my current Skyrim hours, probably. No, really. It is that degree of randomized. And that's before we even bother accounting for the fact that it has 6-player co op. Hell, I'm in the process of trying to convince my girlfriend to play the game with me. Hell, if I can even go double or nothing, maybe I can blackmail Smab and my girlfriend into playing this game. I hope. I'd love to. I want to. I want to blackmail them. I mean, convince. Yeah, that's the word. Convince. When it comes down to it, it's a really fun game and it's really cool and it's honestly much like Divinity Original Sin. It is the bar for if you have a good turn-based game or not. It is the bar. If you cannot match it or surpass it, go home. Go home. Just don't. This, when it comes down to pound for pound content, when it comes to all these tons of things I can do in the game, all these really fun things I got to do, all these characters that I can customize, the fact that I have all these campaigns that I can do, the fact that I have so much freedom to customize the way my character plays to a point where I can have a wizard who gets in people's face and wails on them. Or I can have a rogue who manages to utilize some spellcraft a little bit. Stuff like that is really badass, being able to have all these plethora of options on how I want to approach things. I can make a warrior who fights like he's a damn rogue hybrid. I can make a wizard who, or a warrior or a rogue who is a freaking elemental hybrid thing. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, sure, I kind of at times wish there was like a were shark just for the sake of having a were shark. But the fact that I was able to have so much fun and at times even break the game severely to the point of where I was pretty much one man against a boss and kicking ass, I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's a lot of fun, and there's also ways you can make the game harder on yourself if you're someone who thinks they can handle that challenge. There's plenty of difficulty modes, tons of mods that you can do. There's a like I said, it's so easy to mod this game because it's literally just a one button click away from being able to put your mod onto the game that easily, which is freaking brilliant. Like honestly, damn good. Honestly, there's so much here. There's so much content here. And the fact that this content doesn't really easily get boring unless you go out of your way to make it boring. Unless you go out of your way to ruin it, this game is a freaking stellar kick-ass turn-based game. And honestly, for me, there's no better way to signify and embody and emblazon that as fact other than to give it the exact same score I would have given probably Divinity Original Sin 2 if I had finally finished the stinking game. But I never got around to that because my entire playstyle was completely gutted and made null and void. Sorry, regrets and suffering and sad. Details. When it comes down to it, there's only one score really worthy of this game. The only one that fits perfectly. Alright? Wildermyth, 9 out of 10 game. If you are someone who loves turn-based games, and you're willing to forego graphics and big, huge, massive budgets, go pick this game up. This is a kick-ass game that I have played for 139 hours. Again, I will play a shatload more of it as time goes on, beyond a shadow of doubt. This has been Gamin King. I hope y'all laughed at me, laughed with me. Hope you guys got some jokes or something. And I hope that you guys will show up on Monday because we will go for episode 3 of Fools Did You Survive? Hopefully you guys are there. It is just a reminder. It is every single Monday. Now this Monday it might be a bit later than it was the past couple times. The reason is just because of one simple thing is that I'm going to be out of town for a couple of days, packing some crap up, and then making my way back here sometime on Monday. Hopefully, enough time to be able to get that live stream out relatively, keyword relatively, within a sane time period. I hope. I will see you all next time. See ya.